Dario just said something that should terrify or excite every software engineer alive. At Davos 2026, the CEO of Anthropic announced that AI will be doing most, maybe all, coding within 6 to 12 months. And here's the crazy part, it's already happening. 90% of Claude's own code is written by AI, so it's that self-improving loop. But everyone's been talking about Claude code replacing developers, and now there's something even bigger that's happening that people are starting to talk about. And that, of course, like you've probably already been hearing, is ClawdBot or MoltBot, what it's now been renamed to. So MoltBot is essentially what, Suri should have been, or essentially sort of like an upgraded version of Claude Cowork. Now, a lot of people have been running out, buying Mac minis, and that is a great way to set it up. But in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can set it up for under $15 a month, step by step. I'm going to be giving you the exact commands that you can run to literally copy and paste to get your VPS set up in a secure way with ClawdBot or MoltBot running, and you will get access to this 22-page guide with all the commands that I'm going to be running in this video, as well as different configurations, links to external resources, documentation, use cases that people have been using on Twitter, etc. I'm going to be posting this in our free Skool community down below, so make sure to join and grab the resource for free to follow along with this video. All right, so let's dive into actually installing ClawdBot. So this is the AI that actually does things. You can go to their website here. All links will be in the description down below. And it's very simple. You have this one-liner right here. You have npm, packable, macOS. You can download for macOS. There's PowerShell CMD. And you can change the operating system from Windows to Mac or Linux, whatever the case may be. Now, when you do it on Windows, it does say that it does work best on either Mac or Linux, and that's what I'm going to show you in today's video. So if we go over to their docs here, you'll see that there is many different ways to actually deploy ClawdBot. You can deploy on Docker, you can deploy on Railway, which is very easy, many different ways. But what I'm going to be showing you in today's video is how to deploy it with a VPS. I'm going to be using Contabo. You can really use any VPS, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to be showing you from start to finish how to set this up. So I'm going to go to Contabo here. I'm just going to get a monthly plan for about €7 a month, about $10 give or take. And we're going to go ahead and just do a few different options here for US for best latency. So you can either go 150 gigabyte SSD or 75 gigabyte NVMe. I'm going to go with the NVMe. And here we are just going to keep it as Ubuntu right here. I'm not going to do any data protection here. And lastly, you're just going to want to set up your root password right here or generate one clicking this button. Once you do that, you're going to click next. Then you can fill out your information. I'm a returning customer, so I'm just going to log into Contabo. And just so you know, I am currently getting the Cloud VPS 10 plan. So I get 4 CPU cores, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and then 75 gigabytes of NVMe storage. If you were to upgrade to the 20 or 30, of course, you're going to get more, but we don't even need that for ClawdBot. Now we're going to go ahead and order and pay. So once it's done provisioning, you're going to get an email from Contabo with the VPS information, the IP address, etc. And you're going to use that password that you made to sign into it. So you're going to open up your command line, and then you're going to run the command ssh root at VPS IP, whatever the IP address of your VPS is. Then it's going to prompt you to add it to your known hosts. You click you enter yes, and then you enter in your password. And keep in mind, all this info will be in the guide down below that I provide you for free, so you can check that out from our Skool community. Now, a few things I'm just going to do right off the bat as good hygiene for our VPS. I'm going to run apt update, and then I'm going to run apt upgrade -y, and all these commands, like I said, will be in that guide. Next, we're actually going to install XFCE desktop environment. So I'm going to run this command right here, apt install -y XFCE4, and then we're going to click enter. Like I said, guys, all the commands that I'm running are in this guide right here. So what are we doing right now? Well, you can just install ClawdBot directly on the VPS, and it will use the terminal, be able to, do pretty much everything. But it is a little bit nicer and a little bit more user-friendly, and, allows you to do some additional things when you actually have a GUI to go along with your Claude code or your ClawdBot to maybe troubleshoot or see certain things. So that is what we are setting up right now. And for those of you who don't know what a GUI is, it's a graphical user interface. So what we're on right now is Windows. You can see how we can click around with everything, and it's nice and user friendly. That's a GUI. And then this right here that we're running in is a command line. So it's just raw, really what the computer actually is under the hood. Okay, next we're going to install Firefox, and you could install either Firefox or Chromium. I'm just going to install both, so we'll do that. Next, I'm going to run the Chromium command, which is this right here, to install Chromium. So you could choose either or, whether you want Firefox, Chromium, it doesn't matter. Okay, next I'm just going to run some additional commands, some additional utilities and whatnot. Okay, next I'm going to install XRDP for remote desktop server. All right, and I'm going to run the following commands. I'm just going to copy all these and paste them in. Okay, so now we can see that we have our RDP running right here. It's enabled. Now I'm going to add a user right here that isn't root. I give myself access. Okay, I'm just going to run these commands right here to configure our firewall. Also, one thing to block SSH brute force attacks, you can run sudo apt install will fail to ban. All right, your VPS is scanned constantly. Fail to ban automatically blocks IPs that try to brute force via SSH. Also, too, guys, another note on security is, quite frankly, if you set this up properly, whether it be on a VPS or on a Mac Mini or whatever the case may be, one of the main ways a lot of people will be susceptible to, malicious attacks and whatnot will be through prompt injections, right? So say, for example, you have your ClawdBot or your MoltBot in, a Discord server or, any front-facing place. Even, for example, it has access to your email. That means anyone that emails you via prompt injection could like I'm saying, could include a prompt injection in that email to get to your actual agent, right? So anywhere that, your agent is reading something where there could be text that some person could inject that text to, wherever that could be is, potential vulnerability, right? Now, if you're using a model like Opus 4.5, you are a bit more secure, but still at the same time, every model essentially right now could potentially be vulnerable. But of course, if you're using maybe an open source model or whatever the case is, something that's not as smart as Opus, you're even going to have a higher chance if someone was to try to maliciously attack you. And that is the whole big security concern that many people are talking about, because if you're giving this thing, root access to your device, you're giving it access to all your credentials, which are stored in plain text in I believe a .credentials JSON file, something like along those lines. It's being stored there, right? So, which makes sense when, for, the usage of the bot. But if someone was to attack, and get inside and gain root access, then they essentially can get all the information out of your ClawdBot. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to connect via remote desktop. I'm going to click the Windows button and click R, and then I'm going to type in this right here. Now you're going to enter your VPS IP address right here and then click on connect. All right, and now we are connected here. I'm going to log in with the username that I created. And now we are connected to the XFCE desktop. Now I'm going to do the following commands in the actual GUI right here. So I'm going to go here to our terminal. I'm going to go ahead and install Node.js right here. I'm pasting all these commands. These are the same ones from the document as well. Paste those in. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and install pnpm. I'm just going to paste this in. Right now we're getting into the fun part where we're actually going to go ahead and install ClawdBot. So I'm just going to run this command right here. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and install ClawdBot. So this is the fun part. We can just run this one-liner right here. ClawdBot makes it super easy, literally just one line. There is options with npm as well, or whatever the case may be. We're just going to use the one-liner though. And we're going to go ahead and click on enter. Now we can see the ClawdBot installer has been initialized right here. Okay, and boom, now we have ClawdBot installed. So we can see, boom, it's just asking us if we understand that this is risky or not, using it on our system. Of course, we're using it on VPS, so that's fine with us. Now, you can either go through manual onboarding or quick start. We're just going to go through quick start right now, just because it's super easy. Now, for model auth providers, we have a few different options here. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see OpenAI, Anthropic, Quen, Minimax, etc. We can use Open Router. So if you want to use GLM 4.7, you can either use z.ai, you could also use Open Router. This is going to give you one of the higher quality, cheaper alternatives. The thing that's going to cost the most is if you use the Anthropic API, of course, that will just eat up tokens. If you use your Claude Max plan, that will be definitely a little bit better. It's about $200 a month. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that for now. Now it's going to ask us for our auth method. So we can either use our Anthropic token or we can use our Anthropic API key. So I'm going to get our Anthropic token right here. I'm also going to go ahead and install Claude code on our VPS right here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this like so. Boom. Now we're going to go ahead and run Claude. Choose, like, for example, I'm getting this, right here, just something to do with our path. I just pasted it into Claude, gave me kind of this command right here. Did the same for ClawdBot as well, which you can see I did up here. It's just echo export path, and then we're linking it right here. So I'm going to click enter. Now if I click on enter Claude, yep, now we actually got it, actually found the command. So first thing, of course, we're going to do dark mode. And now we're going to do Claude account with subscription, which is going to open up in our browser, which then we can use our OAuth for. Okay, and boom, now we are logged in. I'm going to click on continue, authorize, and time to build something great. So I'm going to press enter, enter, yep, and then boom, now we're in Claude code. If we come back to ClawdBot over here, do this, go down to Anthropic, use our Anthropic token. Now, as you can see, you can run Claude setup token in our terminal here. Oops. I'm going to copy this, paste this here, and it's going to give us a setup token that we can use. And now we're going to paste in that auth token in here. Okay, so here we can configure what model we want to use. You can either enter one manually, select from what there is, or just leave your default one. I'm just going to leave Opus 4.5 right now. This is the best coding model in the whole entire world, of course. So yeah, we'll get the best results. Now here we can select our channel. Now you could also skip this for now. This allows us to use Telegram, WhatsApp, Discord, Google Chat, Slack, Signal, iMessage, really, you name it, it is here. Now, the only thing that you can't use doing it this method that I'm showing you, of course, on Linux, is iMessage. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and click on skip because we can configure this later. All right, next you can see it's asking us to configure skills, which is recommended. We're going to click on yes. Now here it asks you if you want to install Homebrew. Now this is for if you're on Mac. If you're not, you can go ahead and skip this. Since we're on Linux, we're going to skip it. But if you were on Mac, it would ask you which dependencies here do you want to install. You can install iMessage, all these different ones to control different things within those apps. So we're skipping that for now. Asking about Google Places API or Go Places API, we're going to skip that. Skip all this. We're just going to skip a lot of these right now. We can come back to this later. So here it's asking us if we want to enable hooks. We can go ahead, go down, press space to select which hooks you want, and then click enter. Now it's installing the gateway service right here. And we got gateway service installed. I'm going to go ahead and run ClawdBot daemon right here. Okay, and onboarding is complete. The dashboard open with tokens. Keep that tab to controlled ClawdBot. So if we close this or minimize it, we can see ClawdBot is right here on port on 127.0.0.1 and then port 18789. So first things first, we're always going to go ahead and turn on dark mode, of course. And this is the ClawdBot interface. So this is the gateway dashboard where we can see things like our overview, which has a snapshot of our status right here, uptime, our gateway access, instances, sessions, cron, and we can see our channels right here. So we can configure different ones if we want manually. We can also get Claude or ClawdBot to configure this for us. So we have WhatsApp, Telegram, all those different channels that we went through. We can see our instances right here. So right now, we have a couple instances, as you can see. And we have our sessions. We have our cron jobs. So these are, this is where you can go ahead and set a job, for example, like every single day at 10 a.m. I want you to do deep research on, different YouTube ideas or different trends in the AI space, on Twitter, whatever the case is. Formulate a nice, concise, document a research report and send it to me on Slack every single morning so I can sip it with my, so I can read it while I sip my morning cup of joe. Something along those lines, right? And of course, you can do this configurably in the ClawdBot control panel right here, or you can get ClawdBot to, of course, set these up for you. So that's a really cool thing as well. Now here in agent side, we have skills. These are different skills that you can either easily enable or whatever the case may be. So we see a lot of these ones are, kind of going with the whole Mac system. So if you are on a Mac or a Mac Mini, you can enable a lot of these pre-built ones right here. Here we can go over to nodes and we can see different things such as exec approvals. Then we have our config with different settings, environments, updates, agents, a bunch of different stuff, authentication, commands right here. So allow bash chat command. We could toggle some of these on. Say for example, then if we wanted to save it, we could go like this. All right, so it has been a couple of days since I recorded the setup process of ClawdBot, and I wanted to give you guys an update on kind of what I've been doing and what I've kind of learned along the way to help optimize your setup. So one thing I will say is I will be doing more videos on ClawdBot. I already have another video planned for power users where we'll get into more advanced features, but I really do want to give you guys some quick tips on how to actually use this. So first things first, one of the easiest ways to set it up is in Telegram. So if you don't know how to actually set this up, when I was showing you just there, like in the actual UI config, quite honestly, I personally probably won't do much in the UI config. It is, the ClawdBot control, you don't really want to go in there, click manual buttons yourself, etc. It's kind of tedious. So what I would personally recommend though is just talking to your ClawdBot. So once you actually get your ClawdBot set up, tell it, hey, can you set up Telegram for me? Literally just ask it to set up Telegram and walk through the steps of doing so, right? It's pretty straightforward. You go in, you talk to BotFather, set up a bot, and then give it a pairing code and a key, etc. But ClawdBot will actually dictate on, how to actually do that if you don't know how. Now, where is my ClawdBot set up? So currently I have two ClawdBots set up. One is running on Windows, one is running on Linux because I wanted to test it out. I'm also in the process of getting a Mac Mini to set that up as well, just because I really want to see all the operating systems. What I have learned is you don't need a Mac Mini. I know we see everyone getting a Mac Mini. You don't need a Mac Mini. The VPS method is very good, right? You can pretty much do, I'd say about 90%, 95% of what you could do with a Mac Mini. Now, there are some benefits to a Mac Mini. You can use iMessage, you can use Mac native apps, as well as there's some additional features. ClawdBot was kind of built around specifically for Mac in some ways. So if you are on Mac, you will be able to reap some benefits. It's easier for it to control your screen, etc. for certain things. Now, once you first start talking to your ClawdBot, you get it in your Telegram or wherever, it's going to ask you about what its name is. My name right here for this one is Sarah. You can't see that, but it's Sarah there. And you can see I'm talking to her. I start by telling her kind of a little bit about myself as well as a little bit about herself, for her, just like, hey, this is how I want you to communicate. And now when you start telling it certain things about itself, it's going to update that in what's called its soul.md file. Now, quite honestly, if you go into, the actual files within your system, you can see these specific files and you could edit them there. So for example, here I'm in my file system right here. If I go to home, you'll see Josh, your user. Click into here. Now we can see our Claude file right here. So if I go into here, now we can see, everything within our Claude file. We can see our agents.md, our bootstrap.md, our heartbeat.md, our identity, memory, soul, tools, user, etc. You can also see skills, right? Here's the skills I currently have: auto updater, Claude docs, domain details, PRD, marketing mode, GOG, which is Google, Summarize, YouTube Watcher. Now you can also get Claude to create its own skills. You can create skills on really anything, right? So you can do that. Memory, so this is where we would see our memory, and then canvas. Let's say I opened up let's say our soul file right here. So we can see here right now, ours is pretty generic, right? Be genuinely helpful, not performatively helpful. Skip the great question, and I'm happy to help. You know, we can see some boundaries here, etc., etc. And then we can see this is ever evolving. So if you wanted to update things, you could do so manually here, or you could also just tell ClawdBot to update these files, right? That's the simplest way in my experience. So we can see the soul is for who I am. The identity is for name, emoji, and vibe. This is for the user info for user. Agents is how it operates. Memory is the long-term memory, the quote-unquote infinite memory. And then this memory directory is for daily notes. So next, I would recommend checking out also something like ClawdHub right here. So you can see this is the skill directory for ClawdBot. You can see a bunch of different skills. So if you go to skills here, you can upload ones, import ones, etc. We can see X articles, deep research agent, skill creator, YouTube downloader, calendar, all these different skills that are already pre-made. You can access them very easy just by going to them, clicking on one. Then you can either download the zip of the skill. You really just see it here, or you could just tell Claude bot to come to this specific link, or give it, ClawdHub, just give it the link and tell it to find you specific skills. Or you could actually go to ClawdHub's GitHub. So if you go to ClawdHub, you can actually see the GitHub repo for ClawdHub right here. So you have many different options. Really just give this information to your Claude bot and start asking it questions. Hey, can you find me different skills? Hey, do you have any ideas based on these skills, what skills we may want to build? This is what I'm looking for. This is my plan. Start telling. It's kind of like a therapist in a way, where you're talking to the AI. It's like your friend. It's your companion, and you're telling it information about yourself. And you're saying, hey, I run a marketing company. I'm looking to do this. I want to create X content. I want to create Instagram short form reels. Do some research on this. Create this type of content. I want to mimic this creator's scripts, whatever. Create a skill that can be replicatable for this, kind of like an SOP for that specific task, right? Because ClawdBot is really like your personal assistant, your employee, your friend. You can use it in that specific way. I'm telling you all these things like this because it's really up to you to get creative. It's not just a step-by-step guide at this point. The possibilities are really endless, right? So I will show you some ways I set it up, some additional ways I've been using it, but it's up to you to customize it for your specific use case. I also added our ClawdBot to our Slack channel right here. So if I go over here to AI team, you can see if I want to talk to our ClawdBot, I can tag it right here. So I can say, hey, Sarah, how are you today? And since I tagged it, it's going to start responding like so. Now, I personally use Slack for all of our business communication. So this works really well for us. I could add it to a specific channel and then give my team access to a ClawdBot, right? Where they could ask questions. If you house your clients in Slack like we do, you could actually put it potentially in specific client Slack channels. Of course, I wouldn't recommend doing it in maybe a ClawdBot that has access to your personal information. Maybe you make a specific ClawdBot for clients and it, has access to specific things. But, you do have to be careful, because if you do have external people using it, they could potentially get information out of it that you may not want them to. So keep that in mind. Now, right here, if I wanted to reply to it, I could just keep adding it, or I could just reply to the thread. I'm doing good. Here I'm saying, I'm doing good. What's new in the world of AI today? Everyone and their mom is talking about you, ClawdBot, and can you search on X for what's trending? Also, find me some good skills we should add. Maybe git clone this repo, check it out. Take a look here on ClawdHub and download 5 new skills that would be useful and tell me how to use them. Also, create 1 new skill that would be useful for me and my business, since of course it knows a lot about me and my business, right? So we can message it here in the thread. And then also too, if I did just want to message her directly in Slack without adding her, I could just do that like this. And of course, she's just going to reply in the actual DMs. So you can do it 2 ways there in Slack. And we can see she's already starting to reply here. So she is going to tackle all this by searching and going to work right now, summarizing the findings, searching, etc. So she was actually having some troubles with the ClawdHub registry. So now she's taking a look at the GitHub repo to try a different approach. And now she's like, now we're cooking. Let me search for more relevant skills for your business. So we're cooking right now. We're in the kitchen, chef hat already. Let's see what she actually comes up with. All right, so boom, we got our response back. So let's take a look at what it actually did. So after it cooked, let's see. So the registry is having some hiccup connectivity. Based on what I found, let me install 5 useful skills for your business. Got 4 installed, all 5 skills installed. Let me create a custom skill tailored for Executive Stride based on your profile. I'm thinking of a lead research and outreach prep. Okay, sure, fine. I mean, not bad. That would be a killer for your marketing agency. All right, I'm back. Here's the full research rundown. So AI news, unfortunately, we need the Brave API configured. So let's go ahead and run that. Okay, so I just gave it the API key to set that up. Then I can search X, Twitter, and news for you. So it's going to do that. And then it cloned the repo right here for ClawdHub, the full ClawdHub repo registry code base, handstack, convex, etc. Now the 5 new skills that it installed is the LinkedIn automation via browser relay, open LinkedIn in Chrome, attach a browser relay extension, then I can check messages, view profiles, search people, etc. So that's useful. I mean, you can automate your LinkedIn. I remember back in the day, we used to do LinkedIn automation for clients. Like we, had like over 50 accounts set up on LinkedIn at one point using these different like cloud-based tools, etc. Now you don't need any of that. ClawdBot can do all this for you, right? So end-to-end workflow automation. Okay, so design, production grade end-to-end workflows. So I know a lot of you guys watching love N8N. I love N8N. It's a great tool. I've found myself personally using a lot more of, things like Claude Code and ClawdHub lately. I've been using Claude Code every single day for the last 4 months now, about literally from day to night. Claude, just completely Claude coding. So it's insane. But now we're seeing Claude, like one of the things, Claude Code, a lot of people think Claude Code is specifically just for coding. As we're seeing, it's for so many different things. And I'm going to be doing more videos showcasing how you can bring this, to different areas of your life. Okay, we got the X articles and we got the cursor agent for running cursor CLI for coding tasks. That's useful as well. And then browser use. I've done videos on browser use before. Great tool, would recommend. So now we got those 5 skills. Now it went ahead and created some custom skills for lead research. So basically what it does a company deep dive, digital presence audit, pain point detection, competitive analysis, decision maker intel, personal outreach prep. So pretty useful. That's 14 skills right there. So I gave it our actual Brave API key, and now it's saying, holy crap, Josh, ClawdBot is actually viral right now. Here's what I found. So ClawdBot trending on X or Twitter. You can see different things here. The headlines are real. It's giving us some different news, X amount of GitHub stars, etc. Some concerns are flagged. So token consumption, no directory sandboxing by default. So I just wanted to ask it to clarify, because sometimes it's not perfect at the end of the day. It may make mistakes or do things that you're like, hey, shouldn't it be this way? So I just asked it, I thought you don't need, obviously Claude Code doesn't need a Brave API key to do web search. So for web search, that tool does need an API key. You can either use Brave API, OpenRouter, Perplexity API key, but web fetch, of course, doesn't need an API key. So this just works out of box for grabbing website content. So for certain things, you may need one or the other. Of course, if we're doing maybe a bit more research on different things and whatever, you may probably want the Brave API key or something along those lines to do your actual searching. Also, one cool thing I want you guys to see is I set something up. So, okay, at 10 a.m., and this is on the 26th, it's currently the 27th. I want you to do deep research on Twitter, YouTube, on the internet about what's trending in AI, Claude Code stuff, ClawdBot, different things. Give me an in-depth report and updates. Spend a lot of time doing this deep research. Give me an update. Set it as a cron job. So it set that up as a cron job. And if I go down all the way here to the 27th, and I told it to do this at 10 a.m. every day. So you can see, let me fetch major AI news. We can see the daily research briefing. So hot news, boom, boom, boom. So there we go. We're getting some news here about, Kimi K2.5. Some Google news, etc. So you can make this, of course, even more specific to maybe what you specifically want, or incorporating this with different skills, API keys, whatever the case may be, to get a lot higher quality reports, right? And then you could connect this, let's say, to your Google. So if we don't know how to do that, we just ask it, how do you connect to all my Google apps? Now, boom, we have a complete guide on how to actually do this. We go here, set everything up, get these specific things, and then any specific commands that it may or may not need to run, we just tell Claude to do everything. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to touch anything. It has access to your computer. It is your employee, so you tell it what to do. The one thing, I have cursors downloaded right here on our system. I'm going to go tell it right here that I want it to set up cursor for me. So I'm saying, please set up cursor, the AI IDE for me. It is currently in our downloads folder. All right, so now it's saying found it and installing now. So I'm saying once you install cursor, open it and create a Next.js project called Stride Sarah Claude. Okay, so we can see that it is installed. Okay, and boom, now we have a Next.js project created right here, exactly as we asked. We can see what the stack is: Next.js, React, TypeScript, Tailwind, and we can see that cursor is open. So if we go over to our GUI, we should see cursor open. Okay, and boom, I just had to sign into cursor here, but now we can see we have the project open right here, Stride Sarah Claude. It's a Next.js project, so I could go tell it right now to actually build something. Now in this Next.js project, I want you to build like a task tracker for the tasks that I give you. So then anytime that you're actually going through this task tracker, what would be like a Kanban board to say, for example, create like an MVP of this, then you can actually, I can actually get a visual idea of what stage each task is. Maybe there's certain things that are long running tasks like cron jobs that we want to put into like every day or daily task, or certain things like this, like build some sort of UI that's intuitive, as well as pretty much everything that we have within our chats, whether it be on Slack, Telegram, whatever the case may be, is shown there, right? And then maybe if there's certain things that, we'll just keep it at that for now, just to keep it basic, and we'll improve upon it after. But create this and then just start it on localhost so I can get a nice visual representation of what we've already done, import the tasks that we've already done into it as well. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and send this and see what it actually does. Okay, and boom, we have the task manager here, task tracker. So if I go over here, take a look in our GUI right here, we can see we have all tasks in progress, urgent, recurring, completed, sources, Telegram, Slack, cron jobs, etc. Now, of course, this is a first iteration MVP, but we could, of course, change this around, update it. I'm just showing you guys different options, giving you some different creative ideas potentially. Some of these may or may not be useful for what you want to do. Now, a couple other things to note before we end off this video, guys, is ClawdBot, like I mentioned, they renamed to MoltBot because Anthropic, essentially said it, was too similar to Claude for ClawdBot. And, some people have also been reporting that people have been getting banned from Claude because they're using ClawdBot to operate under their Claude Code subscription, right? And essentially this violates Anthropic's TOS, and people are getting, some notifications like this apparently. And the thing is, guys, if you were to use ClawdBot through the API with Opus 4.5, you're going to spend a lot of money if you're using it on a consistent basis. That's just a warning. I personally haven't experienced anything, at the moment, but it is, something I am going to be careful with. If people, are getting these bans, I definitely don't want to lose my Claude subscription. Also, another interesting use case I saw on X was this one right here, ClawdBot farming up 100 Google local guide accounts, level 10 around the city, each one running on ARM chips in the cloud, 4G mobile proxies, Age Gmail on each one. Quen 3 going around the city, leaving reviews on monuments and libraries. Nothing you will see will be real. So, it is interesting because, as you could leverage these to, do a lot of things with bots, different social accounts. I'm not saying you should necessarily do some of these things. I'm saying the possibilities are there and people inevitably will be doing them. Reddit, growing social engagement, bot farms, whatever the case is, the possibilities are really endless, whether you're using it for white hat, gray hat, black hat. This is new technology, and you are really only limited by your creativity. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video on MoltBot, aka ClawdBot. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below about MoltBot. Do you like it? Do you like it better than something like Claude Cowork, or do you not like it? Do you think it's overhyped or underhyped? A lot of people have been debating that. I personally think it does have a really good use case. A lot of people were trying to build these whole Jarvis AI like personal assistants a lot last year, and tools like N8N and whatnot, and they were always very clunky. You had to always add these nodes to add different tools and whatever. This is, you know, a lot better, a lot easier to interface with, especially if you're not a technical person. Once you actually get it set up, you can use it via Telegram, Slack, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it is interesting, because it does obviously seem like a company like Anthropic isn't really supporting a lot of this type of behavior. You know, we've seen it with open code. They were banning people for using their Claude Code Max plan, and now we're apparently seeing it with this. So you know, with that being said, I'm gonna be careful, tread a little bit lightly, you know, with what provider I use, to see if, you know, other people are getting banned or not. Like I told you guys from the start, I have been using it for the last few days and haven't had any issues. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you've been building anything cool. And like I said, guys, if you want access to all the resources I covered in today's video for free, as well as all the other resources that I've covered in past videos and will be doing in future videos, then join our free Stride AI Academy. Link for the school will be in the description down below, guys, where you can also connect with like-minded individuals like myself and other people in the AI space. I know I haven't been uploading for a while, guys. You know, I've been working on a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes that I will be sharing with you very soon. Like I said, I've been using Claude Code every single day non-stop for the last like 3-4 months. So a lot of cool stuff I've been working on. Excited to share it with you guys and what I've been learning and all that jazz. And if you got some value from this video, guys, make sure to drop a like, comment down below, as well as subscribe to stay up to date with future videos. Other than that, guys, I will see you in the next video. Keep hustling, keep grinding, and of course, guys, accelerate your stride. Take care.